Let's talk about Project Castaway and the legality of fan-made games. If you are new, hello, I'm Gigi. I make content for The Sims 3, The Sims 4, About Sims 5, and Paralives, and today we're going to be talking about Project Castaway and why you shouldn't get hyped for this game. If you aren't familiar with Project Castaway, apparently someone is wanting to remake the entire Sims 2 Castaway for console and bring it to PC. Let's just get this out of the way. Fan games are illegal. Whether they're free or not has no bearing on legality. If you're using content that you don't own from a licensed franchise that you don't own, that is illegal. So you might be a little bit confused right now. You might be thinking, well, what about mods and CC? Don't you make mods and CC with content that you don't have a license for? Mods and CC kind of exist in this legal gray area. Technically, if you're not selling it and the company is okay with you doing it, you most likely won't get into any trouble. Some companies are absolutely okay with mods. They see the value in mods and know that this will help them fix problems or sell more copies because the mods are just amazing, and other companies will sue you into oblivion. It just depends. However, mods and CC are not games. They are not trying to usurp a market, and we will talk about that when we talk about fair use and whether Project Castaway is fair use or not. What I mean by usurp the market is mods and CC are not trying to be supplements for the game. Mods and CC aren't trying to steal away the market from the licensed content like a fan-made game could. Now, when it comes to fan-made games, there are a couple different ways companies can go about this. If you're Nintendo, you sue the ever-loving crap out of everybody who uses even a tiny bit of your licenses. This is pretty much the normal route for fan games. Companies want to protect their IPs and licenses and will threaten to sue anybody who infringes on them. There's also another route that some companies take, like Sega and the Sonic franchise. Basically, they hired some fan game creators, brought them on, allowed them to make their own game, and it was wildly successful. Did Sega have the right to sue these creators into oblivion? Absolutely. They were using the Sonic franchise without licensing it. They saw a unique opportunity to bring on talented creators, give them actual jobs, and build a game beyond their wildest dreams, and Sega got to profit off of that. So let's postulate on what EA might do. Would they sue, or would they bring on the person creating the property and make a fan game with them? Honestly, they would sue. Let's be realistic here. We're talking about EA, and they are money grubbing to the nth degree. The Sims is really the only franchise right now that is profitable for EA. So are they going to allow someone to come in and use their license without permission? Probably not. So let's talk about the trailer. Within the first 3 seconds, we see a very big problem, and it basically says that objects and animations belong to EA. This is sort of like those disclaimers you see at the bottom of bootleg YouTube videos that said all rights reserved to this company. This isn't a get out of jail free or get out of legal troubles free card. Now, what's the big issue here? Well, you remember that EULA that you sign whenever you download any game, really? EA has provisions for this in their EULA, that if you've purchased their games, you have to abide by them. Let me read you a few of the most pertinent passages. Section C, under further restrictions, says your right to use the software is limited to the license granted above, and you may not otherwise copy, display, seek to disable, distribute, perform, publish, modify, create works from, or use the software or any component of it, except as expressly authorized by EA. We're already into legal trouble, and we're only 3 seconds into this trailer. And that's not even mentioning the problem with pulling Sims 4 animations and using them elsewhere, using the sound effects and the music that EA probably paid for a composer to create, or the fact that they've taken the Sims 2 Castaway logo and have slightly edited it to make their own, all of which, you guessed it, are illegal. You might be wondering, what's the big deal? It's just a trailer and nothing more. Well, they're using the trailer to advertise a competing game to Sims. That's a big legal problem right there. Now, on the flip side of this is just a trailer and this person is going to make an entire game from scratch themselves, why aren't you showing us your abilities? Can you animate? Can you code? Can you create music and sound effects? Surely this person isn't thinking about just ripping stuff from The Sims 4 and past games and slapping it together and making a game, right? I sat down and came up with 4 possible outcomes to this situation. This is not an exhaustive list. These are just the 4 4 most likely outcomes to the situation. Number 1, this was just some clickbait trailer that someone threw together to make ad revenue. A lot like the Sims 5 trailers that are totally fake. There are ads running on this video, I did check, so this is definitely a possibility. Outcome number 2, this person sees an opportunity to cash in and wants to create something like Paralyzed. Now, I know they said that this game is completely free. They could tomorrow come out and say, if you want to see the game come out faster, donate to this PayPal link or this Cash App or make a Patreon. We really don't know. The game would still technically be free, but people would be paying for it in donations. Outcome 1 and 2 mean that there is no game. This is just someone who wants to cash in on some easy money. It's just basically smoke and mirrors. Outcome number 3 is someone who genuinely wants to make a Sims type game, remaster something old, but is going about it in completely the wrong way. Instead of making something completely their own like Paralyzed, they are just taking bits and pieces from all kinds of Sims game and slapping it together as a completed package. And most likely the outcome would be either getting a cease and desist or being outright sued by EA. And outcome number 4 is someone genuinely wants to make a Sims like game and is going to put in the effort and the money and the time to do it from scratch in a different engine. Now, this is legal, sort of. We're gonna have to talk about some of the things that aren't legal in the current form. You can't use a EA logo and just wipe off The Sims 2 and repurpose it as your logo. That's definitely not legal. You can't reference The Sims in any way. You can't use the music. You can't use any animations that are even remotely similar. And we're not getting into copyright and intellectual property laws about lookalikes and copycats. There are certain things in a court of law that EA could say that they have explicit rights to, and you making a game and including that means that you are stepping on their intellectual property rights. Believe me, this is a whole mess that most sane people would not want to jump into. So let's move on to fair use, the last pillar that this person making this game could stand on and still not get sued. I want to preface this talk of fair use by saying I am not a lawyer. I do know of a copyright attorney that makes videos here on YouTube, and he has covered fan games in the past, and I will be using quotes from his video. If you want to see his video in full, I will have it linked below. There are 4 factors of fair use: the purpose and character of use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion taken, and the effect of the use upon the potential market. I have to give some clarity before we jump right in. The copyright attorney that I am referencing is Mr. Leonard J. French of The Lawful Masses, and he is talking about a Star Trek fan game. These two situations aren't identical, but Mr. French goes through all 4 pillars of fair use and explains why the Star Trek game was not fair use. We can use the definitions of the fair use factors and apply them to Project Castaway and see if Project Castaway is fair use or not. The first factor of fair use is the purpose and character of the use. Mr. French says, and I quote, "Fair use is the purpose and character of the work. Is it transformative? Was their work transformative in any way? No. If you are copying and trying to simulate as accurately as possible something someone else made, you aren't really creating anything, now are you?" So the person who is making Project Castaway has stated that this game they are making is based directly on The Sims 2 Castaway, which means they are going to probably be making it as close as possible to the original. Let's answer the question. Is it transformative? If you are copying and trying to simulate a past game, then your work is not transformative and you have failed the first factor of fair use. The second factor of fair use is the nature of the copyrighted work. Mr. French says on this topic, the next factor is the nature of the copyrighted work. Is it commercial or not? Well, the nature of the original copyrighted work is commercial. It is most definitely a commercial work. You are copying a commercial work. Is your work commercial? No, in the sense that they weren't making money off of it, but it's commercial in every way except that they weren't making money off of it. So saying your project is completely free does not mean that your project is fair use. This game fails at the second factor of fair use. The third factor is the amount and substantiality of the portion taken. Mr. French says on this subject, third is the amount and substantiality of the portion used. Well, no, they did not use all of Star Trek, but they did use all of the NCC 1701D and everything they know about it. What does this mean for Project Castaway? Well, Project Castaway is based on the original Sims 2 Castaway. So this person making the game is going to draw inspiration and use everything about that game to make their game. So Project Castaway fails at the third factor of fair use. The final factor is the effect of the use upon the potential market. Mr. French says on this topic, and then fourth, the usurpation of the market, the effect of this on the market. The market usurpation factor is whether you stepped on something that the original copyright owner had the right to do, and if by making your thing, you usurp the market for them to do the same thing. EA has the right to create a new Sims Castaway. So would Project Castaway take away from that? Most definitely. So the game fails at the fourth factor of fair use. Let me say this again. I am not a lawyer. That's why I went to a copyright attorney and looked to see if there was any information I could use. Are these two situations 100% identical between Star Trek and Project Castaway? Absolutely not. But the only way to know definitively, for sure, that you fall into fair use or you don't fall into fair use is to go to court. And that is a lengthy and expensive battle. EA is not a company that's going to let someone usurp their market of The Sims. I know I don't speak Portuguese, but if the creator of Project Castaway is watching this, please don't spend thousands of hours making this fan game only to be sued by EA. If you got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.